They take a viral video and they copy it. They replicate it. They literally regurgitate it. They go, these are the types of videos that are going viral. These are the kind of topics that are going viral. And then they basically clone it. And that doesn't make you a thought leader. That makes you a copycat. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. I'm not necessarily saying it's the wrong thing. But what I am saying is that does not make you a thought leader.
Yeah.
That does not make you trusted. That does not make you an authority.
Welcome to the Wealthy and Well-Known podcast. I am joined here by my partner in crime, Rory Vaden. And today we're going to be talking about why credibility beats virality. And this is a special topic for me because I have a love-hate relationship with all things social media and all things that go viral. There's a love-hate there. But here's what I think is really important is like attention is cheap, but trust lasts forever. Right? And it's like, are we doing everything that we're doing to just get attention? Or are we actually doing it with real credibility that builds real trust over time? So here's the question. What if you disappeared from social media, from your digital footprint for 30 days? Would your ideal customer still know you, know about you, know what you do, still look for you, wait for you? Or would they completely forget that you even existed? All right, so Rory, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with this idea, this topic of the category of one.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you become a category of one where you are the trusted expert that attracts your ideal customer, right? A trusted customer who comes to you because of your credibility and your trust, not just because they saw you on a viral cat video.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I think I would start the conversation to go, how do you do that versus how do you go viral? The way that you go viral, the most common way that people go viral today is they take a viral video and they copy it. They replicate it. They literally regurgitate it. They go, these are the types of videos that are going viral. These are the kind of topics that are going viral. And then they basically clone it. And that doesn't make you a thought leader. That makes you a copycat. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. I'm not necessarily saying it's the wrong thing. But what I am saying is that does not make you a thought leader.
Yeah.
That does not make you trusted. That does not make you an authority. That does not make you credible. It makes you a commentator. It makes you a commentator. It makes you a copycat. You're a clone. You're like literally cloning. Now,
Where are you going? But is that bad?
I don't think it's always bad. I think there's a lot of wisdom to going, look, there is a war for attention, and you're going, how do you get attention? Well, you can pay for it, but if you're not rich, then how do you get it? You have to earn it. You got to figure out a way. So I'm not necessarily against it. I am against plagiarism, like verbatim plagiarism. And I would say I have a general distaste for it personally. Like I would never trust somebody where I go like, I literally saw almost that exact same video from somebody else like 6 weeks ago or whatever. And that is what is happening a lot right now. But at the same time, we research viral videos to identify topics because that tells you what the public is interested in.
Right.
So there's a balance there.
So I guess what I was going to ask is, that old saying, that old quote, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right. And not a little bit of this of like, well, hey, everyone has figured out like this is what goes viral. This is what works. Where's the line? Like that feels like a lot of gray area.
Of what? You're saying you should do that?
I'm asking.
Well, I think that there's a difference between attention and authority. Modeling or mimicking viral patterns is a way to get attention. And to the extent that attention is deserved and appropriate, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But I don't believe that's the way to build authority. It's smoke and mirrors, right? Because even if I have lots of followers and you think I know what I'm talking about, the moment we actually engage and you find out, oh, I don't actually really know anything, I'm just parroting stuff from other people. You can't build a business that way. You can't build a brand that way. It's the difference between a social media following and an actual brand that lasts the test of time, right? Speakers try to hack this where they're like, well, I'm going to hack the algorithm. So when you search best keynote speaker, my name pops up. Okay, I'm not against that technique, but I'm telling you,
Once you get on
once
stage.
you get on stage, you can't fake it. And if you come on stage and then somebody comes out there either before you or after you who is a real professional, you're going to be embarrassed. You're going to look, so you can trick people for a while, right? You can trick people to get attention, but you can't trick people long term into building authority. You have to be a person of substance. You have to be a true thought leader. And so what we do at Brand Builders Group, honestly, I would say is a balance. It's a blend of attention and authority. But I would say we have a strong disposition towards authority driving things, towards trust building things, towards credibility, and virality is kind of like secondary in nature.
You know, what I take away from what I just heard you say, and I don't think I've ever thought about it this exact way, is that virality may build your audience, but credibility and authority actually build your business.
Mm.
And I think those are really two distinct things that people get confused often. Like, do more followers equal more business? Not necessarily. Sometimes, but there's no direct correlation per se, unless you're actually talking about things that relate to your business, to your authority, to your credibility. And are you talking to your target audience versus whatever went viral?
Yeah, and do you have a real like system of business? So I think a lot of people today put a lot of emphasis on systems and processes and strategies to attract attention,
Right.
and they don't put the same rigor into the systems and processes and methodology to deliver client results.
Amen.
So they bring a lot of people, but then nobody transforms. Nobody, they charge whatever they charge the most they can. They make short-term money, and then the thing falls apart and they can't figure out why. And they're like, oh, well, leads are more expensive. It's like, no, because your business isn't built on solid principles and,
Okay.
and real expertise.
So let's go back to this question of this becoming this category of one, which I love this idea of like virality versus true authority.
Mhm.
And okay, define for us then what is true authority and what's the difference when it comes to this digital ecosystem that we're all living in?
Yeah, so I think true authority comes from a track record of results. The number one place that authority comes from is a track record of results. And I think that track record starts in your own life and your ability to produce a result, and then it is further expanded by your ability to create that result in the lives of others, right? It's why on the inside cover of this book, it says, you're most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. It's why that's become such a mantra for our community and our members, is because we're going, that may not be the way to go viral the fastest. It is the way to build a business the fastest.
Mm.
Your credibility it also doesn't come from trite things like that you've been in the media or that you got a fancy degree from a big school or your social media following or who your friends are. It comes from the actual ability to deliver results.
Mm.
And that isn't necessarily the same thing that gets you massive attention.
Okay, I have a question for you. Going off script a little bit. Why not? Like, why doesn't real authority, real expertise, real thought leadership, why doesn't that attract attention? Why doesn't that go viral?
Because viral is all about the unexpected, right? Viral is about the sensational. Viral is about the most emotional. It's the most unusual. Viral is sensational would be the word.
Well, that sounds. Go ahead.
Viral tends to happen at the extremes, but success tends to be about being brilliant at the basics, focusing on the fundamentals, mastering the things. Most of success in life comes from doing the unsexy things really well, and unsexy doesn't go viral. That's why real authority, real thought leadership often doesn't go viral because real authority and real thought leadership is focused on creating a transformation and a result. And that's usually being brilliant at the basics,
Mm.
not attracting attention, which is a bunch of random stuff we've never heard that's so like, captivating. And so, there can be a blend of both, but that's how I would answer that question.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like the way I interpret that is almost, it's like being really good at the basics, being successful is almost boring. It's like the true keys to success, the fundamentals of like what makes you successful are pretty boring. They're consistent, they're repetitive, they're boring.
I mean, look at our first book, Take the Stairs. Like that is the truth. You want to know how to be successful in life? Read that book. It's never changed. It never will change.
Yeah.
Everything in there is timeless. That book doesn't go viral because it's not what people want to hear. It's what they need to hear.
Mm.
And I think that's just a big difference. It's a difference between media, by the way, right? Media is not in the business of accuracy.
Yeah.
Media is not in the business of truth. Media is not in the business of transformation. Media is in the business of attention. And the more polarizing, the more emotional, the more controversial, the more unusual, the more sensational, the more people pay attention, and they make money from attention because they make money on advertising. When you're building a brand, though, you're building a sustainable, I deliver a result that comes from the fact
Hard
that
work
hard work
and time.
and experience.
People don't love hearing that.
No, they don't. They don't. It's not, at least it's just not what they pay attention to.
But yet it is the truth.
Absolutely. Now, the good news about that is that anybody, if you're struggling in your business right now and you're scared and you're like, I don't know where to turn, I don't know what to do, you should have faith that you go, if you find someone who knows and who's been successful, they will tell you, these are the principles, these are the basics. And if you master these things, you can't not succeed. Like it's impossible. Like the principles, the success principles are true in every walk of life and in every department or function of a business. And if you do them well, you will win eventually. But people waste all their time chasing a bunch of like sensational garbage.
All right, so let's talk
and
about
not
some of these basics that
doing
you're
the
talking
work.
about. Because some people might be listening going, what are these basics? Tell me, what are the basics? Give me the boring stuff. So let's talk about the boring stuff for a minute. Because I think if that's really where true authority comes from, and that's where credibility comes from, thus trust, right? And those are the true building blocks. Then let's talk about those for a minute. I think it's worthwhile to, explore, well, how can we have this combination of the truth and the basics and the fundamentals, and how do we actually make that go viral today? What I would love to see something going viral is telling the truth of like, it takes time and hard work and discipline. Like I'd love for that to be a message that's preached a little bit more. It might not be the sexy one, but it is the true one. But let's talk about the basics. What are they? So when you say, hey, it doesn't matter who tells you this, like these are the timeless principles of success. These are the basic building blocks of true business. What are they?
Yeah, so I mean, it depends on what the context is. If we're going, are we talking about there's principles of sales, there's principles of marketing, right? So we teach in 8-Figure Entrepreneur, we teach that every business has 8 functions. 8 doesn't matter if you have one person or you have 100,000 employees. There's 8 functions. I would argue that marketing, sales, fulfillment, customer service, HR, finance, administration, operations, and IT all have fundamentals for those things. If you're talking about personal development, right, that would be more like the Take the Stairs book. These are the truths of success of personal development. If you talked about the principles of time management, I would say that's what my second book was all about, 5 permissions to multiply your time. If you want to know the principles of being successful at personal branding, that's what this is. And by the way, I actually think if you look at our life story, if you look at the arc of our career, in many ways, we're like the tortoise in the tortoise versus the hare. We teach truths. We talk about principles. We don't focus first on gaining attention. We've played the long game, and that shows up in our life, in how we live, and the family we have, and the various things that God has blessed us with. But one thing we have not done is accumulated massive, large audiences. And I think hopefully that's invigorating for some people to go, oh, the sooner I stop chasing the glamour and the glitz of just attention, and the sooner I dig my heels in and go, I'm gonna
Do the
focus on
work. Yeah.
principles and living principles in my life and teaching principles in my business, I can build a life-changing business. But it also, it doesn't happen overnight because it never happens
Never
overnight,
happens
but
overnight.
it's just no one wants to hear the
But I
truth.
want to pick one of those topics. So,
Okay.
since we're kind of talking about authority, thought leadership, credibility,
Mhm.
like if you were going to go, here are the basics of building true thought leadership.
Mhm.
Let's dig in on that one.
Okay, so I think research and results are the two ultimate sources, I think, of authority. And I think results is more important, right? I personally would take advice from an entrepreneur who sold their business for millions of dollars over a professor at an institution who has never actually owned and operated a business.
All day long.
Right? Now, that's not to dis say, "Oh, there's no value in academia or whatever." I'm
Definitely value.
extreme, and I'm very data driven, as we are very data driven, and I'm very much into research and analysis as well. But if you look at the research side, right, the results side is pretty self-explanatory. Did you do the deal, and can you help other people do the deal?
Hmm.
When you talk about thought leadership, my mind goes more towards the like academia side. And I think reading, writing, and research would be like the three R's of academic authority. So reading means I'm familiar with what's been said in my area. I used to love the term thought leader. Then I didn't like it because everyone used it. And now I'm like, I really like this term because it is the real term. To be a thought leader is to be a leader of the thinking that's been done in that area. So there is an element of innovation. And it's like, to be a true thought leader, I'm innovating my space, but I can't innovate my space until I understand my space, until I've actually, I'm actually up to date on the thinking that's been done in that space.
And I think this is important because that's also where credibility comes from. It's like you actually know what you're talking about, which does require research, writing, and reading.
Yeah. And
And
I
that
think,
doesn't matter what your business is. Even if you're listening, going, well, I wouldn't call myself a thought leader, but it's like, but do you know your space? Are you up to date on what's happening in the market, in the economy, with your local community? Like, whatever your business is, like, are you up to date on what's happening with the thing that you do?
yeah. And I think that it's important because, so we have a lot of clients at Brand Builders Group who were very successful entrepreneurs. And some of them times they're like, well, I know 100 times more than Gary Vaynerchuk knows. I should have all the followers. And it's like, well, results matters for a lot, and I would say it should be number one, but your results also are very isolated to your specific situation. So if you don't understand the landscape of your space, it's like what you did may not be the thing that works for everybody all the time. I do think it's like the foundation,
Mm.
but the reading is going, okay, I need to understand what other people are experiencing, and the research is really key to go, how do we put data, how do we really separate myth from truth? How do we isolate tangible, practical things and to like analyze and understand empirically our space? And then writing, I think, is one of the lost elements of
Mhm.
true thought leadership and
You
a
know,
really critical one.
I don't want to interrupt, but I think this is a really thing for those of you who are listening. As I was listening, I thought about how many people that I really love their writing, but when I go to hear them speak, like, and this is like true thought leaders, it's like they're so academic, they're so well researched that I'm like, huh? It's like it just went over my head, and I'm like, wait, what? I thought I knew something, and now I feel like I don't know what you're talking about. It's like, so how do we not get lost in that? Because it's like, that happens a lot where it's like, I'll read something, I start following someone, and it's like, oh, I want to learn more about them. And then it's like, the more that I follow them, I'm like, wait, I'm clearly not their avatar because they're talking so far above me that I feel like I'm in first grade again
Mm.
because it's so academic. It's
Yeah,
so research. It's like, wait, how do I actually make this apply? It's almost too theoretical or ambiguous or,
I think you can err on either side of the spectrum. If you go, I have a results driven practitioner on one side, and I have a data driven researcher on the other side. If all you know is what you've experienced, then I think you run the risk of being detached from the reality of what other people are experiencing,
Mm.
and you might struggle to articulate or translate what you've learned in a way that's applicable to other people. On the contrary, if you're on the other end of the spectrum here and you're just nothing but a data driven researcher, you become detached from the reality of what people experience in the everyday world. And one of the things that I love that I think is a trend of personal branding in 2026 is that the people who are winning are a blend of both.
Mhm.
It was like, a lot of times there's like the thought leaders for years, uh, the people who got all the high speaking fees were like, "Oh, I'm a best-selling author and I've sold all of these books," which I always find ironic when I find it ironic when a Fortune 10 company pays money to a speaker who runs a company of one employee to come and teach them how to run their organization that's a multinational corporation. I'm like, that's a big risk, right? Like, you're asking someone who has lived only in the world of research and academia to come and teach you how to manage the complexities of a multinational corporation. I'm like, it's not that they can't add value. I think we can learn something from everybody. I'm just saying that feels a bit disconnected. Um, and then, there's on the other side, I think there's been a really a swing where it's like we really want to hear from people who've done real life stuff. Um, and then there's all these marketers that have built these social media followings, which maybe don't have either, but they have a big following.
Mhm.
And I think there's this intersection that's happening where it's like people go, no, I want to learn from someone who's done it, but I want them to also be data driven in how they approach it. And I want them to be great at, producing content.
I was gonna say, who are some examples?
Cody Sanchez is one of the best examples right now. She has the personal track record of working in private equity, working on Wall Street, running her own businesses. They operate funds, they invest in businesses,
Mhm.
but they're a researcher. They are studying. They're very big into data. She's writing. They're producing, and then they're producing world-class content and building an
But also
audience.
she's got a growing platform. So what I hear you saying, it's like it's really a three-part formula, right? There's the research, there's the academia part, there's the real world experience, and now there's this third component, which is platform matters.
Yeah, I mean, I've never said that, but as I think that's the trend that is
Mhm.
happening, and I think Gary Vaynerchuk fits that as
Mhm.
well. Their team is very sophisticated. They're very into research. Obviously, has a monster platform, and Gary knows what he's talking
Yeah.
about. I mean, Alex Hormozy would be another one
Mhm.
where I'm like, man, like the guy,
He
you
researches it, he does it,
he's done it. More than anything, I think
he's
Alex
done
is
it.
more of a practitioner, maybe a little bit lighter on the research and writing. I mean, he's written stuff, a little less academia, but very practical.
Mhm.
And so I think that's what people they want. Dave Ramsey comes to mind as a
Mhm.
longstanding person
Yeah,
who's like
those are great examples.
done all of those. But we want to learn from somebody who's done it. We also want to learn from somebody who is well researched and it's not just their opinions. And we're only going to get the chance to learn from them if they're good at marketing and media.
Otherwise, we don't know they exist.
Bingo.
Right? Which is where components of the virality come in. So doesn't mean it has to go global, millions of views viral. But there is some importance of you don't want to be the world's best kept secret.
Can you explain the reputation formula? I haven't really talked about that a lot on
Mhm.
this show. We talk about it in the book, but like it'd be good to do a review of what the results, or excuse me, the reputation formula is and how it works. I think that applies here.
Yeah, I think it's really simple. In a brand builders group, we talk about a very simple formula, which is results times reach equals your reputation. And you can have amazing results. You can have sold your business for lots of money with a huge impact and lots of employees, and it's a well-established business. And if no one knows about it and that reach is zero, results times zero is zero,
Mhm.
which means your reputation is non-existent. It lives in this tiny little bubble, right? And the opposite end of the spectrum is true as well, right? You could have tons of reach, right? Lots of followers, but if you have no real results, right? And you kind of talked about this earlier, at some point you can only pretend or fake it or ride that wave for so long, because even if you have tons of followers and tons of audience and a huge platform, at some point we're going to realize, well, there's no real results there and this doesn't work. And again, reach times zero is still zero, which means your reputation, even if it's riding a wave, that wave's going to come down. Right. And it's going to crash and go boom. And so what we're looking for is that happy medium of how do you have real results? And that is, again, the combination of real life experience and real expertise. And that's through both academic research and the real life experiences times reach. And for us, reach is just your ideal audience. That's your ideal avatar. The whole world doesn't need to know about you for this to equal a significant reputation for you. But your person does, right? And I think one of the mistakes that I have seen people make is, again, it's one end of the spectrum or the other, right? And the people who I encounter who are often the best at what they do have spent nearly no time building their reach.
Mm,
You know why? Because they've been busy honing their craft,
craft.
building their business, doing the research, doing the deal, and they have spent no time helping people know about it. Thus, their reputation is very minimal when it comes to impact.
That's right.
And to me, that's a travesty because they are the real experts and no one knows about them and no one is listening to them. And who people are listening to are the people on the other end of the spectrum who've spent all of their time mastering marketing. They have spent all their time learning how to make things go viral and becoming really well known for something, and they lack real expertise. They haven't done the real thing. They haven't done the real research. They haven't lived the years. They haven't seen everything, but they're telling something, they're preaching something to a huge audience that is founded on very few results. And that's scary.
Yeah, and I would say a lot of times when people think of Brand Builders Group, sometimes they see like our really well-known clients and they assume that we only work with people with a lot of reach.
Yeah.
And actually, the vast majority of the clients we work with are the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
They have all the results and very little reach. That is most of the people that are our members and that we work with are people who spent their life honing their craft, and now they're waking up to the reality of what you just said. And by the way, if you ever want to talk to us, if you go to freebrandcall.com/podcast, you can request a call with our team and we'll talk you through this. So on the results, the reputation formula, I wanted to break it down. You know, we talk about results times reach equals reputation. Your results, I think, are two parts. Your personal results, like your personal track record, and then your clients' results. What results have you been able to help other clients get? And then your reach also is two parts. And this is a part I really want to highlight for those of you who maybe don't have a huge following.
Like
So,
me. That's me.
yeah, this would be us. This would be us. Yeah, for sure. And I guess we could say you
Yeah,
directly.
me.
Yeah.
I'm this category of person.
So if you look at reach, there's two groups of reach. There's direct reach and indirect reach. So your direct reach is how many people do you immediately have access to, right? How many people can you get a message to through your email list, your text message list, your social media following, your podcast, your YouTube channel. That is your direct reach. You can push a message whenever you want to those people. But what a lot of the people who have big results have is not direct reach, but indirect reach. So indirect reach is your ability to get a message to people through someone you know, through someone who trusts you, right? We don't have a huge direct reach, but we have a monster indirect reach. We have some of the biggest affiliates in the world. Why? Because we helped them get results. Our biggest form of reach happens not from us growing our audience. Our biggest form of reach happens from creating results for our clients. And when those clients have reach, they share that reach with us. And that's part of why we always say, like in the book, the best form of marketing in the world is a changed life. So if you spent all your life getting results, don't, be so heartbroken and be like, oh, I can't do a huge launch or build something quickly. You probably have big indirect reach if you've been investing in relationships.
Yeah, and I would add maybe perhaps an alternate view to this, which I think is maybe helpful for some of you who are listening who fit in my category, which I have a pretty small online reach. And for some of you who are going, well, I don't really know if I want to go viral. I don't really know if I want to invest the time and the energy and the effort to doing all this online thing. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that fits me. And I would say, then perhaps it doesn't. Like, perhaps it doesn't. And I want to just touch on the importance of when we talk about reach, there's the direct and the indirect,
Mhm.
but there's also the online and the offline.
Mhm.
And we always tell people, go where your audience is. And if your audience doesn't live online, what are you doing on there? Like, what are you doing online? Right? There's some power in, yes, clearly having an online presence, but if your avatar is not online and that's not where you're looking for them, that's not where you're going to find them, then go where they are. And I think we spend a lot of time in marketing in general, right? Just in the idea of finding leads and building audiences. And we spend so much of our time talking about the online components that we forget about offline.
Mhm.
And you can build just as much credibility and authority offline than you can online.
Yeah, some of the people with the biggest Rolodexes, the highest amount of influence, the biggest amount of wealth have 0 online, and it's
Uh,
because they have a massive
yes.
offline
And I was going to say,
reputation.
in the monetization chapter in our book, Wealthy and Well-Known, I actually did research on this because I was so curious. So I did a research project on who are the 10 wealthiest individuals alive in the world today, and how does that correlate with their online presence? And of those, only 7, or sorry, not only 7 didn't even have an online presence. Only 3 had an online presence, of which, Mark Zuckerberg having a large online presence doesn't count. He doesn't count,
Yeah, he's
right?
everybody's friend. He's gotten to be everybody's friend from
But
the
like
beginning.
7
Yeah.
of them did not have an online presence,
Mhm.
no social media account. Like, they were not present online. Now, some of that, take with a grain of salt because when they established their businesses or when the businesses were established through their families, this wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
So some of that take with a grain of salt, but nonetheless, I thought it was really interesting of, wow, they have built offline networks, offline relationships, and they have quote unquote gone offline viral because of the networking and the relationship building and the years and years of the showing up at the nonprofit events, the networking meetings, the board meetings, being present in the community, being available to their clients. They have built incredible brands for their businesses and incredible impact and incredible income with 0 online presence. And that too is possible for us today.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's different types of reach. There is, um different types of results, and those are probably people who've delivered results for lots
Mhm.
of other people, and even though they don't have an online presence, they probably still have some type of a direct platform. They have thousands of employees, customer lists, referral partners, et cetera. Yeah, so I'm curious for you, okay? So you have never been impressed by celebrities. You've never been drawn to how many followers does somebody has. Like, it's almost ironic that we're in this business. I mean, when people really understand what we do, it's not because we really serve the real experts.
I was about to say, it's not ironic at all because the person we serve is the person we once were, which is the person who's just trying to make a larger impact with what they're doing,
Mhm,
not to become famous, not to go viral. That's who we serve.
mhm.
But what was your question? Sorry.
Well, my question was just like, why are you not impressed at all with celebrity fame, followers, or why do you think what do you think is different about you from, like, is that like a conscious thing that you do, or is that just like innate, or do you think like other people are, they think of it in a way, or like you just don't have that, like, oh, I can't that person, like, you don't fangirl
I
at
don't,
all over anyone ever.
but I never have. So I think there was a part of me that was just born that way. I think there was a part of me that I was raised in a entrepreneurial family where my grandfather started a construction business, then my dad took it over, and my brothers are taking it over, and it was just very hardcore, ingrained in our being of like success comes from hard work.
Mm,
And I think that was from my grandfather to my dad to us, and there was a consistent message in our house of like success comes from hard work. And so I think some of it stems from that. And I think some of it was God's divine blessing over my life,
So
knowing
what does impress you? Like what are then the things that you as a consumer or a business partner or a referral partner, what are the things that do are appealing to you or that you go, wow, this is what impresses me.
overcomers. Like, I think this is a great example. So Rory and I share an executive life coach. And he was our former pastor. And when he left the church, when he left his pastoral work, we kind of lost touch for years. And this was back in 2021, which was probably, we call it the dark years. These were the dark years. These were like some of the hardest years of my adult life. Like it was a really dark place for me, the dark years. And I finally like come to the conclusion. I'm like, I need like a real life coach. Like I tried the counseling thing and I was like, that's not what I'm looking for. Like I need some guidance. And when I started researching and interviewing different firms and different coaches, I got referred to all these places and I won't recommend them or else I won't mention them. It's not that I don't recommend them. I just didn't go with them because here's what I found through every single one of those interviews and every single one of those vetting processes is everyone was shouting their accolades.
Hmm.
And I immediately thought to myself, like, that I can't even be honest with them. I can't even share with them what I'm trying to do in our business and where I'm struggling because they have it all together. And it was like very well known, prominent firms and different coaching programs. And I'm like, I don't relate. They're in these high seasons of life with these huge exits or these amazing processes and they have it all together. And it's like, I feel like a big hot mess. And I don't even want to tell them how I feel or what our struggles are. And then I came across our former pastor's profile, and I knew his story of the, falling from the mountaintops and the, road back to redemption. And for the first time, I'm like, oh no, that's what I need. Like, I need someone who's like, oh no, I've been there. Like, I was on top of the wave, I rode it, and I fell crashing to the ground. And there's light at the end of that tunnel, right? So it's the overcomer story that really impresses me of the person who persevered, who didn't give up, who figured it out when there didn't seem to be a way, when odds were against them. And I think that's what really impresses me the most and why I love who we get to work with at Brand Builders Group is it's the unassuming, it's the humble, it's the person who's doing this because there's a calling on their life. They can't not do it. And it's because they don't want fame, right? It's like, no, I want to make a difference. I don't want to be famous. And I think that is what impresses me most is like they're changing lives because they can just help people. Not that famous people don't change lives, they most certainly do. But I think that's what impresses me. And when we decided on our executive life coach, it was a very decided decision of like, no, I need someone who has been humbled, who fell and worked their way back up, who had to start over and who had to refine their graces and get in touch with. And I was like, that's what I needed. Right, and that's what I needed, and there was a level of comfort in knowing that this person wasn't afraid to share that story, and all these other executive bios, and it was just accolade after accolade after accolade, and I felt intimidated, and I was like, "Not them, not them." I don't even measure up. Like, I would be embarrassed to tell them what's going on, and so I think that's I think that's a really important part of this idea of building real credibility is that you're really honest with the wins and the losses. Because I think the losses attract a different grouping of people who go, yeah, me too. Can you help me through this?
Yeah, I've been inspired by your encouragement for people to share the hard parts of their story. And that's really like nobody ever shows up after your speech and says, "Oh, I'm so impressed by all your accolades." But when you say this is what I struggled with,
Yeah.
people come out of the woodwork. And I think in a world of technological perfection, in an artificial world, like the more artificial the world becomes, the more our humanness is our
Mm.
uniqueness. And I think that's what you're talking
Yeah.
about. And I think it's just, that authenticity is a big part of it.
And I think credibility comes from knowing, like, yeah, I fail too. Like, but that doesn't mean you give up. And I think that's where a lot of the authority comes from. So one of the things that we want to do right now, this is one of our favorite segments of the show, is this is where we get to take a question from our community at Brand Builders Group. So those are members who are part of the community at Brand Builders Group, and they get to submit questions. And our team picks a question that we're going to answer live for you today. So Rory, what's the question?
Question comes from Olivia M. Hi, Olivia M. Olivia says, I'm getting decent engagement online, but it's not translating into premium clients. How do you become the obvious choice instead of just another choice or creator that people watch?
How do you become the obvious
Choice. And
choice?
she's mentioning premium clients, which I think is an interesting part of this question.
Yeah, so I guess defining what premium is, and to me, that would just be your ideal client, right? The premium client is the person that you most want to work with, right? It's the center of the bullseye. Like, this is the person I'm going after. That's how I interpret that.
Okay. Then
Uh,
you answer that because I interpret it differently, and I'll answer it the other way.
yeah, so I think when you're attracting leads and they're not converting well, I think there's a lot of speculation into what that really means. It's
Yeah.
like, are you growing your followers, but they're not converting into calls? And one of my questions to that would be, well, do you ask them to? Like, do you have any calls to action? Like, if this is an online conversion conversation, I think where a lot of people miss the boat is they forget to actually have a call to action.
Yeah.
Like, we forget to tell people what we want them to do, right? And so if you have leads that are showing up in the ecosystem, it's, are you actually directing them to do something,
Yeah.
right? And
Because
so
she's saying she gets engagement, but she's not necessarily saying she's getting leads.
so I think that would be my first thing is like, are you actually giving them a clear, decisive call to action? Are you telling them what to do next?
Mhm.
We assume people know, they don't. We have to tell people this is what you do next, right? You request a free call with our team. You follow us here. You subscribe here. You download this thing. Like, you have to tell them what to do. And it's not one time, it's all the time.
Yeah, and I would say that a big mistake that people make with their social strategy is they kind of go from someone saw me to I'm going to sell them something. And there's all of these steps, a few steps in between, right? So first there's engagement, then they become a lead, you capture them. Then there has to be trust, then there is a transaction, right? So just because I saw your video that went viral and it was 60 seconds doesn't mean I'm going to buy from you. You got to give them that next step, that clear call to action. Now they're a lead. Then I have to have some trust accelerating experience. And then I have to have a process for them to actually become a customer. And if you're just trying to go from engagement to premium client, that breakdown, and a lot of people make that mistake right now.
So I'd say it's probably one of those two things. If you're getting engagement, I'm assuming you're talking about online, and there's rather not a clear call to action, or you're missing one of those trust building conversion steps in between engagement and customer.
And our call to action would be to you that if at any point you want to talk to our team about how we might be able to coach you and encourage you to get to the next level with building your personal brand, driving more warm leads for your business, accelerating your impact, go to freebrandcall.com/podcast, freebrandcall.com/podcast. And we're just going to want to hear your story and see if we could be a match to help you take the next step. Outside of that, keep coming back to the podcast, Wealthy and Well-Known. We're so honored to have you as part of the community. If you haven't yet, please go leave us a rating or a review wherever you listen to the show and share this episode with somebody who you think would be encouraged by it. And we'll catch you next time on Wealthy and Well-Known.